creativity or consumption. Buying something brand new or building it yourself with your own hands. And in 1959, somebody built these amazing HiFi power amps. These are Monoblocks, a beautiful stereo pair that were home built, DIY, built from scratch. I don't know if the person, saw the schematic in a magazine or a book or did the engineering themselves. But this is a fantastic example, like a lab created or a basement created example of what's called a Williamson amplifier. The original Williamson circuit was first published in 1947, and it caught on. It was more popular than free beer. Everybody was building Williamsons at home, and companies, big companies, Marantz, Fairchild, everybody was taking that original design and improving on it and their own spin, and it's still going on today. Full disclosure, I want to have an amp build class where we build HiFis, where we build basic Williamsons, but I digress. Let's get back to the customers. So why is this such a great example of a Williamson in the late 50s, early 60s? Because people took the original circuit and kept trying to improve on them. So we have giant transformers that weren't available in 1947. We have 3 rectifier tubes, 3. And it's kind of clever because I think this has what's called an 807 kind of topology to it. These are 6L6s, and these are stamped 1614 tubes, which is the original 6L6 was a metal tube. So that's what was in here. But before the 1614 was the 807, ham tube, radio tube. And you had to keep the screen voltage low. And when you see power supplies for an 807, you usually will see 2 rectifiers. So we have a rectifier tube for the plates, we have a rectifier tube for the screens of the power tubes, and then we have a rectifier tube for the preamp and phase inverter. Let's take a look at the guts. So my client has been enjoying these for years, and someone has put on an IEC power cable here, speaker terminal, RCA input jack, that's been changed. Capacitor's been changed, but these electrolytics and these cans are all original. This thing is really, hasn't had much work done to it over the years. Look at this output transformer. I mean, this appears to be homemade, and it is potted. It looks like someone did the metal work. You can kind of see the tar if you look carefully. So we are still in the estimate phase of trying to get a gauge on what needs to be done here with these units. And yesterday I did fire up the one that was working because I wanted to take some voltage measurements. One thing that concerned me was these 600 volt caps. I didn't want to put in 600 volt caps. That's going to add to the expense and be a little bit tricky. Thankfully, we don't have to. The main B plus is 600 volts, believe it or not. But you actually have capacitors here in series, so the voltage will divide. So we're going to be able to put in 500 volt caps across the board and on this can. The unit that worked was working great for about 10 minutes, and then the main rectifier did go bad. We're going to have to change out this rectifier. The unit that came in not working was powering up, but we didn't have any preamp output, and the reason was because the rectifier that serves the preamp is completely dead. So I was able to change that and bring both amps up and take some baseline measurements. So now I have enough information to give the client the estimate. What do we know? We know the power transformers are good. We know the output transformers are good. Seemingly the power tubes are good, but we're going to want to check those a little further. We're going to want to check everything a little bit further. But we know we need some rectifier tubes, and we know we want to change those electrolytic caps. We are going to start changing out these Sprague capacitors with new Spragues. Look at that. I want to use these caps because they are good quality caps. They're definitely pretty expensive as of late, but I do feel like these amplifiers deserve it. I also like the nice long lead, so we're going to have no problem mounting the capacitors. Sprague still makes caps today, and my understanding is the Atom line is called that because these were used in atomic weapons. They were the best available at the time, really. I love how this has the surge voltage, which is very helpful for tube equipment. I love how it has the temperature. And here is the date code, the 13th week in 1959. So we got some new caps in here. Now we're going to move on to the can capacitor right here. Solder up this ground here. So for this cute little capacitor here, we're going to add a terminal and mount the capacitor and the resistor, which is a cathode resistor, right here. All right, get out of here. I love working on Monoblocks. There's something very luxurious about having an identical circuit right next to it that you can compare to. Also, there's something really classy about having a discrete individual amp for your right and your left side. I designed this here a long time ago, probably over a decade ago. I got two of them. And also, I designed these. My magnum opus. I spent so much on these. I went into audio madness, COVID, time, and money. I'm really proud of them. I'll do a proper video on them soon. So the original Williamson used a KT66, I believe, in triode mode. Often with old Williamsons, you'll see 6L6s, 1614s, and 807s, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And one thing you have to understand, let's take a little side road on 6L6s for a minute. All right, Pat's private stock here. So 1614s that were originally in these Williamsons here is a metal tube. A lot of audio tubes, glass tubes that we know today originally were metal tubes, 6V6 and 6L6. Here is a beautiful RCA 6L6G. Has this beautiful shoulder glass, ST. Here's a short bottle 6L6 WGB. Wonderful sounding tube. Here's a 6L6GC RCA. You'll see these in a lot of old Fenders. Wonderful sounding tube. Lasts forever. Here's a new JJ 6L6GC. And one of my favorite tubes we talked about before, the 807. All right, another side road. This is a glorified Williamson I built a few years ago. I use it for amateur radio. I've talked all around the world with this when it's paired with a CW transmitter. Hello, wait. Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. And these 807s are in this crazy contraption that I built called a modulator. I built this when my kids were little with parts that I had because I was going to get on CB and ham radio. And what does a CB radio look like?
This is a CB radio.
Thanks, Reese. Okay, a quick rig rundown here. So we're talking through our low impedance input. We have a high impedance input for our Crystal D104 microphone. We have a line level in here for audio. Baxendall tone stack. This is our switch from an audio transformer to the modulation transformer. We have a master volume. We have a Scorpion Jewel, that's right. We have a audio output transformer, some metering, two relays in the back for push to talk. This is our massive modulation transformer. Those are the power tubes. And then this is our power supply. We have two Mercury rectifiers here. We also have another rectifier, CK1006. And then we have three gas voltage regulator tubes. This tube came about in the 30s. It's very similar to a 6L6, but obviously there's a couple differences you can see right away. One is you have a plate cap right here. So the plate of the tube actually connects to this cap here. So this is your high voltage. This tube can see 800 volts on the plate. The reason why you can't see 800 volts on a 6L6 is because you will get arcing in the pins. But that's what's kind of neat about this tube, is the high voltage capability of the plate, being that it's on the top. Here's the thing though, the screen grids of the tube cannot see more than 300 volts. So I have made a tube regulated power supply to take care of that. Okay, let's adjust the bias. Pull in more current. Bring up the volume here. 300 screen grid volts, right? And there's our B+. Over 500. Regulated by these gas tubes here. All right, we're back from the woods, back in the shop, and we're gonna test the 5U4. Like I said before, the one went down when I was operating it. So I got my tester here, my TV7, and this tube is dead. So this is from my personal collection, because I want a shoulder glass, beautiful 5U4. So we're gonna warm up the tube, and we're gonna test both diodes to see if it's good. The minimum value is 40. And look at that, 40. And now we're going to test the other diode. And there we go. Good to go. So it's interesting. So I'm testing the 6X4s, right? These are the other smaller rectifiers. We know one's bad, but check out this one that was in here. The minimum value we want to see is 40. We're not even seeing 30. And how does that new one test? Yeah, buddy. The time has come to fire one of these up. And I'm looking for voltages. I'm going to turn it on. I want to make sure that we have B+, voltage to the screen grids, and then to the preamp. Because like I said, we have three rectifiers, 3 sets of caps, 3 power supplies. I want to make sure those are all working. And then we're going to put it on the dummy load and through the scope. First, we're looking at the plates. Boom, 650. All right. Screens, looking good. And down here in the preamp, perfect. All right, let's monitor this. Should start going down a little bit. Right, as the tube warms up and conducts current, voltage is going to drop. About 380 on the screens, and then we still have nice voltage here. And no weird sounds, nothing going cherry. No smoke. All right, let's put in some signal. Silence that. Nice sine wave right there. Wow, all right, I even need to give it a little more drive. Okay, it's clipping about there. Let's put on the square wave test. When you're doing audio work, often you want to see how it looks in a square wave test, and that's pretty good. Take a guitar amp, put a square wave test to it, and see what you see. This is our clean voltage right here, beautiful clean sine wave. 22.7 times 22.7 voltage squared divided by the resistance, and it is a 16 ohm load. We have 32 watts clean. So 32 watts is pretty good for these. Remember, we're talking about hi-fi amplifiers, not guitar amps. We're not testing for max wattage. We're testing for max clean headroom. What makes a good sounding guitar amp is completely different from what makes a good sounding hi-fi amp. Well, for the last 48 hours, I have been enjoying these, but it's time to give them back to the client. But before we go, I have a homework assignment for everybody. I want you to design and build something from your heart and your mind that is badass and 65 years from now is still blowing minds and working great. So, little homework. I do want to do an amp class where we build hi-fi amps. It's going to happen. Just need a little bit of time and money. I guess I'll let this roll out with a track. I keep getting all these copyright infringements because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to YouTube. But I guess you just can't use other people's music. But this 45 is a beautiful gospel song called Ain't It Sweet from the Southland Mission Singers from Baltimore. I love this song. It should be used in a movie. You're going to love it too. So I'll do my high romance montage endings I like to do, and we're going to listen to this beautiful, beautiful song.